What is up, guys? Welcome back to another week of the Daiba Jiu-Jitsu podcast. I think this is episode 9 we got going up right now. And as always, I got my buddy Austin. Austin, thank you for joining me this week.
Yeah, for sure. Every week. I love it, man. I love it. How are you guys doing? Hope everyone's hanging out and doing well.
So this week we got a little bit of a shorter topic, hopefully. Well, we'll see how long we get talking. But the topic today is tattoos and jiu-jitsu. And the reason we stumbled upon this topic particular was because I guess this one hit a little bit close to home with both Austin and I getting fresh ink. And so we, it kind of throws a little wrench in, your normal training schedule. And so we just thought we would talk a little bit about what our mindset is about it and what yours might be and what we do to kind of protect ourselves and just some of the different things. So
Yeah.
do you want to let people know what piece you just got?
Yeah. So I mean, it just so kind of happened to work out that we both ended up getting pieces around the same time. Mine's a little bit yours is more fresh than mine, but my first couple pieces that I got on my left arm, I wasn't doing jiu-jitsu at the time, so only thing I had to worry about was keeping it clean while at work and stuff like that. So that was really an easy concept. I mean, I was working in a warehouse. It was pretty dirty. So handle something pretty dirty, go run off to the bathroom real quick and rinse it off. And I was kind of hypochondriac after the first one. Second one, I wasn't really so worried about. Third one, I was like, I don't even care. It's on my shoulder, right? Nobody cares. You're wearing a shirt and not out there rocking tanks in a warehouse. But the piece that I just got, with it being like a full-on half sleeve, that, and then doing jiu-jitsu now, I kind of had to learn,
You gotta approach the training a little bit differently now.
Exactly. And so, I mean, in my mind, because I was used to my first couple pieces, I wasn't really out of anything, but I wasn't doing anything. So in my mind, as I was about to get the arm done, I was like 2-3 days, nothing crazy. I'll be good. I'll be back in there. And then as I started to do it, I was like, man, it's kind of hurting. Or maybe 3 days could become 4. And then by the end of the piece, I was like, I ain't doing anything for the week. And especially once they put because you got the different remedies, right? You got the cellophane wrap that people throw on it before you leave. That I just take off before I leave the shop. I did something different with it, Saniderm, Tegaderm, whatever it is. And that's a completely different healing process. I mean, it speeds it up, but you got to be more aware of what's going on around the arm. So,
and you said it speeds it up in terms of like keeping the healing factors like circulating, or like what were you telling me
so
about that?
I mean, like when you're getting work done, and I'm sure most people that listen to this have gotten some kind of work done, and if not, then maybe they'll get one day. But it's when you get the ink done, you're bleeding and stuff like that, right? And during the healing process, you're still, when you're peeling the skin and stuff like that, you're still kind of leaking plasma and whatnot, because it's your body trying to accept the ink and reject what's not supposed to be there, and so on and so forth. So with that Tegaderm, it's sticking it over there, and it's keeping the pores open so that the plasma and stuff that you're leaking out is coming right back in. At least that's how I had it described to me. I was also post 7-hour session, so I wasn't really.
It makes sense though,
But
if you just let it air out, then it's just kind of going away as it naturally does.
It's like healing a normal scab versus healing a well hydrated covered scab.
Yeah,
those are gonna go a lot quicker. So I was very cautious once, because I whole upper half of my arm is completely wrapped in this stuff. I was very cautious on trying not to peel it. I didn't really want to sweat, which can't really help it at work sometimes. You're going to get sweaty. So I was very hyper aware of it. So going into jiu-jitsu, I waited 5 days, right? I got the piece done Sunday night. I worked Monday, Tuesday.
So you got it last Sunday?
I think 2 Sundays ago.
2 Sundays. So then I got mine
on the 5th.
But I got mine on a Sunday as well.
Yeah.
So I got mine 2 weeks after yours.
Yeah. So I'd waited 5 days. That Thursday I took the Tegaderm off. So I'd waited 4 days to take that off. The 5th day, I was back at work, so there wasn't really anything for me I couldn't really do anything anyways. But that Monday I came back and I went straight into rolling. And I had spoken to our professor, like, hey, like, he asked why I wasn't in, and I was wearing like a little bit longer of a sleeve shirt at the time. And I told him, well, I just gotten some work done, and I showed him my arm. And he was like, oh, you need to make sure and, you know, wrap that, cover it, wear a long sleeve underneath the gi, and then the gi on top of it. Like, you're probably going to be out about 2 weeks.
Because the gi is abrasive. You know, like whenever you're rolling, you get into these points where if you're not wearing a rash guard underneath, or a part of the gi is on direct skin, it's a little abrasive. It can rub your skin kind of like a scrub does, you know, and it can be, you know, if you're not taking care of your skin, it could definitely give you some scratches or something.
I mean,
every now and then.
My knuckles have been, some people's gis are like cheese graters, and they rub my knuckles raw.
Oh yeah, you get the jujitsu knuckles going.
Yeah, the tips of my fingers
Like
will start to peel.
That one's really bad right there.
Oh, that one's a little tore up.
Yeah.
See, I'm not weathered like you, you in your old age, but
whatever. But yeah, I guess like from my tattoo perspective, I guess mine were a little bit different because from the healing process, walking out of the parlor, I was, and mind you, I only got my first piece like not that long ago, so my knowledge in this is still new. But as I get more and more, I'm starting to figure out what works and what doesn't work for me. I personally like keeping the Tegaderm on. I don't like airing it out for some reason.
Tegaderm or the cellophane wrap?
Whatever they end up wrapping it with.
Oh, okay. No matter what they wrap it with.
Yeah, whatever they wrap it with, I've noticed that I tend to like keeping it just because I feel like the circulation, like I have noticed this one has been healing a lot quicker, because with this one, what I'll typically do is I'll get a Tegaderm, and in the morning I'll put fresh ones on, and then the next morning I'll take the old ones off, and then I'll put fresh ones on, so that it's kind of keeping the moisture going all day, and it's keeping it covered. So
with your piece, and for everyone that's listening, it's his shoulder, and it comes down a little bit to like down towards his tricep. So you're looking at a piece that's probably about 8-9 inches long, something like that. How comfortable would you be? Like, what's the time frame you're comfortable sitting on something like that?
Sitting
like not
like sitting in a chair?
No, like
sitting out of practice.
Yeah.
Well, let's see, with this one, since it's been healing a little bit quicker, I can start to feel a little bit of the scabbing starting to happen. So I know the itchiness is about to come, and I'm
still itches.
And I'm probably gonna have to. I don't know. I feel like if I let it just wait and heal fully, I think that would be the best for minimizing touch-ups.
Okay.
Because I feel like that's partially what happened with this one on my bicep. I think I went back a little too prematurely, and what ended up happening was there was a scab that I guess still needed some healing and needed my skin to cover it up or whatever. And I guess rolling it kind of took off some of those pieces. And so now I think that piece in particular needs a little bit of a touch up. So I would, if you're weary about coming back or staying out a couple more days, if it's just me, in my opinion, I would say just wait a couple more days, just let it heal, and we can also discuss some of what you can do outside of not rolling to make sure that when you do come back, you're still, I guess, closing the gap quicker than if you were to continually go.
That was kind of my issue, is I took that whole week off, and I was so eager sitting there, and I talked to Professor's like, you probably should wait about 2 weeks because of the size of it. And I was like, no, I'll be back on Monday. And he looked at me like I'm crazy. And I came back in on Monday, and just that week I was shot, man.
And then you said like rolling, it started like feeling like...
Yeah, I could. So, I mean, you helped me wrap it, but I had to do a full cellophane wrap all over the entire upper portion of my arm, my shoulder, and then obviously to try and keep the shoulder covered, I had to come across my body and stuff like that.
And then you put a long sleeve.
A long sleeve and then a gi on top of it. And mind you, we're in Texas, and it's middle of the day, middle of the summer.
You got a homemade sauna going on.
I did. I was sweating, but I could feel when I was starting to roll, like some of the spots that were more healed, no bother.
No problem.
Some of the other spots, because I did start to scab up, there's a little bit of color in my arm, and red, especially, the body apparently has a hard time accepting. It's generally the color that's rejected the most, as generally where you scab up the most. So I've been told. I don't know. I don't rock a lot of color.
Well, and I saw the scabs on your red part of it too.
Yeah, and
so
that was,
it made sense.
So I started to scab up pretty quickly. I think once I took the Tegaderm off is when I started to see some scabs. But so open wound, right? You're always taught jiu-jitsu, you got that open wound, you got to cover. So I immediately was like, okay, the one area that needs to stay covered is that scabbed area. So I kept that area covered, but I could feel kind of the wrap starting to roll off throughout the class. And it was still a little sensitive to the touch. It didn't hurt, but it was like when someone touched it, like, hey, there's something's there.
Something's there, yeah.
By the time class was over, though, I noticed that I peeled a lot during class, but I could feel kind of like it felt like little pins and needles in a couple parts because it was still healing. And I mean, it's a large open wound that had been smacked around a few times and armbarred and whatnot. So I could feel, and it wasn't painful, but it was uncomfortable enough for me to be aware of it and immediately want to go and try and take care of it. And at that point, I rushed over and I took a shower and
you just go clean it. You make sure it's moisturized.
Yeah,
and then
but
if you want to continue to cover it, you cover it.
Exactly. And I've heard people that they had a piece that was not very big, and because they're worried of staph, they sat out almost 3 weeks.
Yeah,
which
it's an open wound. So
it's an open wound. Staph is definitely something that is.
That's a fair point.
Yeah,
yeah.
But I think what I'm thankful was mine. The only sweat that I was going to be getting was my own. Right, kept it wrapped, kept a long sleeve, wore a gi over the top. Didn't do no gi rolling. So I had the only thing that was going to touch it was going to be my own sweat. Except in one of the rolls where someone pulls a collar and then they dug their face in. But at that point, that's what the plastic's there for. So, when dealing with, like, you're worried about staph, stuff like that, I completely understand. But I think that's really kind of everyone's preference. I've seen people that have full leg sleeves that are like, yeah, I was out for about a week and a half. It's incredible. A full leg sleeve.
Well, and I think it also depends on how your diet is and how healthy of an individual you are. If you're one of those people that, like, drinks excessive alcohol or smokes excessively and has a bad diet, I think it's going to take your body probably longer to heal.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? If you're drinking water, taking vitamins, you eat pretty healthy, and you get a good amount of sleep, and probably not going to be out too long.
That was something I probably, going back, if I could redo the healing process, would have changed up a little bit, because I like an occasional beer every now and then. And I was noticing, and I wasn't drinking in excess or anything like that, I was noticing one beer, immediately my arm, like the bottom of that Tegaderm, that had started to bubble up a little bit just because I'm bending my elbow. It's going to loosen up a little bit.
Right.
One singular beer that I didn't even finish, immediately I was leaking. And I could see, like, the plasma and some of the red ink and stuff starting to come out, and I was like, well,
it makes your blood a little bit thinner.
Yeah, but that is one thing that if I could go back, would probably not have done. Maybe at least changed it up a little bit. And I had told my artist that I wasn't gonna sweat, I wasn't gonna drink, anything like that. And day 3 or 4, I already broke those rules, and I was like, man, sorry.
Well, I mean, you know your own body too. You know what your body can handle. You know what your body's gonna do. If it's not your first tattoo. But yeah, I think for me, sitting out was probably one of the hardest things for me. Because you want to be in there. You want to be, because I would personally still go to class.
Mm-hmm.
Like, and I still have way more pieces that I want to end up getting. So this is going to be a long journey of this as well.
Learn how to deal with it.
And so I think that's, for me, one of the hardest parts about getting a tattoo is having to sit out and watch everybody learn the move, and just know that maybe not on to the extreme of things, but at least for me, I always feel like all these people in the gym are just getting just a little bit better, and I'm sitting out. Mm-hmm. And it's probably the same thing with any other sport as well.
It really is. I mean,
but if you truly enjoy the sport and you enjoy doing it, you want to be in it. You want to be a part of it. You embrace how hard it is, and you learn to enjoy that process. And so it's tough.
So
do you have?
Oh, go ahead.
Go ahead.
No, go ahead.
I was gonna say, do you have any ideas on what people can do to make sure that maybe that gap is minimized as far as like whenever they are sitting out, or maybe they're taking some time off, or
Yeah, I mean, it's kind of hard because it depends on where you got the piece, right? So, me with having gotten it on my arm, I couldn't really do anything with much of the upper body, right? I'm gonna sweat, I'm gonna peel the tegaderm, and it's gonna kind of defeat the purpose, right? So with my arms, I did feel comfortable doing stuff with legs, but for sure when it's like jujitsu related, mental reps is really what it was. The days that I
you
wasn't
going through
working,
your game plans like in your head of like what you would do, or?
watching people. So I still went to class and I sat and I observed and watched the move. And I was on the very edge of the mats. Still, I didn't have my shoes on, or I had my shoes on, so I wasn't on the mats. But I was on the very edge of the mats, trying to watch as much as I could, hear as best I can. Game,
Because you'll still pick up some tidbits.
yeah, it's the
on
same
what-
concept of watching a YouTube video or an Instagram video and seeing someone do something on Instagram, and you're sitting on the toilet watching it like 3 or 4 times. You're like, how am I gonna learn how to do this?
Man, I gotta watch it like 20 times. I analyze like one thing in the video, and then I'll watch it again. I'll look at something else, and I'll just keep watching these different.
Yeah, but then my feet start to go numb, so I got to get up at some point. But no, like it's the
But
same
mental
concept.
reps.
Yeah, you're
You're right,
watching
yeah.
mental reps. So I see people learning the new technique, and they move on to the next step of the technique or the sequence or whatever, and then I watch people roll, and I pick one person and put myself in the eyes of that person or in the mind of that person. I see someone trying to take their back. Well, if I was in his spot, what would I do to try and get out of it? Stuff like that. And then after I watch that one, then I'll look over at a different role, or I'd switch to the person who was more of the aggressor. How could I go for a finish? Stuff like that. It's all about mental reps. They tell you in any sport, like when I was growing up, football, mental reps. What, watching, let's say, playing linebacker, the steps that a linebacker's taking to fill gaps. If you're not in on the play, you watch and you're taking those reps as well, watching film, stuff like that. It's the same concept. So I was taught from a young age, even though you're not in, you can still learn. There's something that's going to make your game better. So maybe take the physical break off for your week, right? But still keep mentally involved.
View it as like a reset for your body.
Exactly. Your body is healing. You're not only going to be healing the new ink, but you're healing a pulled muscle, a strained muscle. Or
Not only that, but like from like an athletic perspective, maybe your body just needs a little bit of cardio recovery. If you're going a couple times a week and you get that new ink or whatever, maybe this is good because it allows your body to get that recovery that you otherwise wouldn't have forced yourself to have. You know what I'm saying? Unless like an injury happened or whatever. But yeah, I think the mental reps is a huge thing, and I think for me also, I noticed. Just to talk a little bit on your point, I'll tend to watch people that I either struggle against a lot, and I'll try to. I know this sounds bad, but like I'll try to like kind of pick apart their game and see what it is that they do, so that I could maybe work on not getting caught in that next time I roll with them.
it's a different perspective.
Yeah, for sure. Well, because I mean, when you're rolling, you get so tunnel visioned into who you're rolling with. You can't do this roll and watch that roll and then watch this roll over here and keep rolling with this guy or girl. So yeah, it's cool to see it in that perspective, and yeah, it's just like watching people compete. It kind of gives you a spotlight of what people do good and what you could potentially it sounds bad, but how you could potentially find gaps to make sure that you're coming out ahead.
Yeah, absolutely, and I agree with that fully. I mean, you can only see so much when a dude's on your back, right? But when you're standing watching somebody on somebody else's back, knowing that that dude has done the same thing to you multiple times, now you can see like, well, when his foot goes here, I may not be able to feel it when he's on my back, but I can see his foot's here. I can move this way and so on and so forth. So yeah, I mean,
It allows you to watch like upper belts go at it too.
that's always fun. Get a little bit of
Dude,
enjoyment
that's
out of it.
what's really fun.
I love watching the guys throw down. But yeah, I mean, everyone's gonna be different. Everyone's body types differently. Everyone heals differently. Some heal faster than others. I know with me, I did the week on a pretty sizable piece, and I probably could have gone a little bit longer, but I was just so eager. I felt that I was digressing more than taking the mental reps and progressing like I probably could have. Do I regret it? No, but it could have been a little bit better. I could have done a little bit cleaner. And thankfully, actually, gross, probably shouldn't tell you, but while rolling, it popped some of my scabs off. So,
There you go.
yeah, I mean, it probably shouldn't have let that happen because there's a little bit of...
Well, but that's part of the healing process. It's
Yeah,
it's
yeah.
naturally, your movements are naturally going to pop off some of the scabs.
Yeah, I'm just hoping it's not scarred right there, but we'll figure it out. Whatever. Either way, there's a lot. Just don't look at that spot.
And so, just one more thing to add on to this whole, sitting out thing with the tattoos. One of the things that I did personally, whenever, and I still do to this day, even when you don't have a tattoo, right? This time kind of allows you to kind of analyze your game, and if you're an academic or cerebral person like I am, as far as like my jiu-jitsu game goes, it kind of allowed me to maybe look at my game and my game plan, my moves, my defenses, escapes, submissions, I guess more objectively, and try to see where my gaps were, because I can't physically feel where my gaps are at this point because I'm not rolling. And so I do notice that I'm on the internet more. I'm looking up stuff, how to get out of certain positions, how to make sure I'm doing certain things correctly, different options, different ways, different scrambles.
Yeah, absolutely.
And so I just want to add that too. Like you can always be learning even when you're not physically learning.
Yeah,
So
always. I agree. Man, I think we've kind of beat this horse till it was dead on this.
it was a short one, but it
Yeah.
was a good one.
Well, I mean, there's only so much you can do, right? There's only so much we know.
Yeah.
I mean, like I'm only halfway done with this. So I'll learn some different techniques on how to keep it clean and so on and so forth when I do the bottom half. But
I think it gives people some insight if they're like debating on getting a tattoo, or I mean, this is definitely a thing for sure. So
Yeah.
you see someone sitting out because of a tattoo, like just know they want to be in there with y'all.
generally, that's the case. I mean, there might be one guy that's like, "Oh, I'm just gonna keep getting tattoos.
Yeah.
Just keep taking the mental reps." But
Yeah.
I mean, also I think the size of the piece kind of helps too. You got a big piece, you probably take a little bit more time. Smaller piece, throw a Band-Aid on the thing, you'd be alright. But
Just wrap it once real quick.
wrap it once, twice, throw a little duct tape on it. Maybe don't do that one. That would hurt so bad.
Takes the tattoo off.
you no longer have that piece of skin. But yeah, man, I'm good on this one if you are.
I'm good. Thank y'all for joining us this week, and as always, we'll see you next week.
Yeah, later guys. We'll gab at y'all next week.